So, another paddle. We are just near Beaumaris on Anglesey. And we're going to have a little paddle on the Menai Strait. So, the weather is absolutely gorgeous, the sun is out, and the views are epic. It does not get much better than that. So, looking forward to this. We're going to have a paddle down to Beaumaris. Beaumaris is that way. So, we're going to have a little paddle down, see if we can see the pier, and then paddle back up. So, let's get cracking. Okay, off we go, reversing into the water, a few waves, and then look at this view. Absolutely stunning. So that is the Snowdonia Mountains. We're going to paddle down the edge of the coast. So Anglesey is to my right, mainland of North Wales is to my left. And hopefully I'm going to get round the corner and we're going to be close to the pier at Beaumaris. Let's go have a look. So this is some kind of, I don't know, it looks like a railway line that went into the water, maybe taking stuff from barges, or definitely the ruins of a building now. Maybe a little port thing, because that metal thing sticking up, that is one of the things you put the rope round for boats. So yeah, maybe that's what that is. Sun's gone behind the cloud a little bit, but that is fine. Temperature is about 15 degrees, so that is nice. I don't think I've ever paddled in the Menai Straits. In fact, I can't think that I've ever done that, so this is a first. Nice to be here. Had I known it was so stunning, I'd have done this a long time ago. We're just going past this outcrop. It actually looks like outdoor swimming pool. Or maybe a disused one because the building's a bit derelict now, look. Yeah, that probably was some kind of Lido at some point. Sea swimming pool. Quite a few places have those up and down the coast. Clevedon being one that springs to mind, down by Western Superbear. So coming round this wall, sea wall, and then you can see the pier. Here at Beaumaris. Very nice. Very scenic. A few boats out in the estuary. Not at the estuary, out on Menai Strait. There. Very good. So that is a very ornate building. It's facing the Menai Straits. Just turn so you can see that. Look at that. Yeah. That's a few windows to clean, isn't it? Building over I'm pointing to now is the lifeboat station. On the look of it, the door's there to let the lifeboat out. There may also be a lifeboat actually in the bed of the harbour over here. Sometimes they keep them in the water and then keep the ribs actually inside. You go underneath here. I'm going to avoid those two in the middle, look, because they've got things hanging down, which is going to be a bit, well, not too restrictive, but I'll just avoid them anyway. And then I'm thinking the very right hand one might be shallow, so let's go with the one to the left of that. Ideal. And then hopefully we're going to be in the harbour. Yeah, there we go. Oh yeah, that's nice. Nice houses, painted. Brilliant. What a pretty little place. So yeah, we should not be affected by tide here, in theory. It's not like some of the narrow gaps you have through bridges and things where you get the tide flowing one way and then you can't paddle the other way. There shouldn't be any of those problems, so I'm happy to paddle down to here. And of course, you won't be surprised, I have the trolley in the back, so worst case scenario, we up and out and we'll walk back up. It's not that far, it's about a mile to the car from here. So I'm not sure of the distance between Anglesey on my left and the mainland on my right, but I'm going to have a guess. I'm going to say, looking at that, let me turn around. So yeah, from Anglesey there all the way over to the mainland, I'm going to say 2 miles. So I will look it up and put it on the screen now. Was I right? Here we go. Okay, a little break to have some water and snack, and out to have a look at some of the boats. So he's actually a local, just lives on the edge of the water here, out paddling. Nice. So he just said the tide is going to turn and it will start going out in the direction that I'm paddling now. So not sure what he means by that. It's obviously not going to go out at 1,000 miles an hour, but there might be some flow, change of flow. So I was heading back anyway, so that's no great shakes. I'll keep close to the edge and we should be absolutely fine. So there is the Puffin Island cruise boat, and that goes out obviously to Puffin Island. One over there, Sea Coast for Safaris, that looks like a catamaran. Let's go have a look. I don't know the coastline along here too well. I know Llandudno is to the left on North Wales, over there somewhere. We'll be there in a couple of weeks' time doing the water safety at the triathlon. Puffin Island, I'm assuming, is that island that's just in front. I'll show you that in a second when we've had a look at this catamaran. There you go, so 2 hauls on it, and that makes it a little bit faster. Nice, maybe more stable, I'm not sure. There are advantages anyway. That's cool. And another one, Seacoast Safari is over there. Okay, so I'm going to head back towards the edge of the pier there. And once I get past these boats, I'll show you a couple of things on islands and a couple of things, and then we can find out what they are using our good old friend Google. So we've passed the boats now, and hopefully you can see in front there's a little island there. Not sure what that is, so I'll put on the screen. And then to my right, straight in front now, there's another island. So I'll put that on the screen as well. We're learning things today, aren't we? Should have paid more attention when I did geography. So beautiful, but you can't hear because I've got a windshield over the mic, but it is quite windy now. I'd say maybe 5 mile an hour wind blowing straight in towards me. So headwind as I'm paddling back. And I can see on the left hand side, quite a long way up, is where I'm going to get out, where I parked the car. So I made the decision. Beaumaris was pretty chocker for a Monday in September. It was very chocker. So I thought I'm not going to battle to get a parking space, so I've just nipped up the road. Nice little lay-by. Got the boat off, straight on the water. And that was a really nice place to stop, I have to say. So you can see there's a few more waves as well, we're bumping. And the rock hopper doing its job, if you can see. I've just tilted the camera. So the idea is that when you get a wave, watch this one, you see it goes either side, so it's not actually spraying up and hitting me. So that hull is deflecting, creating a V in the water, and it's deflecting the wave, which on water like this makes a big difference. Otherwise you're splashed in the face every single wave, which is not good. So you got the sun behind me as well, so the camera now is facing into the sun, and these waves are really picking up. So it's nothing to deflect the wind. I mean, this is coming off an open sea right over there. In fact, in the distance, in the very distance, I can see a wind farm. So that is probably the one that we can see from Llandudno, if you watch that video. And yeah, I'm still making progress, which is good. Whoa! Some nice waves. Always checking that I'm still making progress, because that can be quite deceptive. You look at the water and you think, oh, I'm moving, but it's because the water is moving. It's going past me. So I need to keep checking the land to make sure I'm actually making progress, because if that stops, then that could be that the wind has picked up, it could be that the current has changed, and it might mean that I've got to make some different plans. Maybe even an emergency plan, because there's really no point battling against it and just draining energy. Sometimes you have to do that, but if you possibly can, it's best to avoid it. Yeah, definitely some nice little bumps here, and you can see they're actually breaking, some of them, where the water is a bit shallower, just here on the end of this breakwater. Well, that's that little swimming pool thing. And yeah, that, whoa, cool. And that's how quick the weather can change as well. So on the trip down, this was like a mill pond. But with that wind picking up now, suddenly that's made for a slightly different trip. And also had to think about what I'm wearing. I put a full dry cag on today. I've actually got 2 layers underneath. Thermal layer of trousers, and then a t-shirt and a thermal top. And I'm really glad I did that. Yeah, I was a little bit warm on the way down, but I am the type of person I would prefer to be warm than cold, so I didn't mind that. And when I got out, I was able to just take the dry cag top off a little bit and just get some air to the clothes underneath. Now this wind has picked up. Dry suit was exactly the right choice. And also thinking, as I've said in previous videos, is you're dressing for the water. So if I go in, I'm in a dry suit, that increases my chances of being able to stay in the water a little bit longer in case I need to wait for rescue or I need to swim to the side. I could have done this trip quite easily in maybe a rash top, shorts, wetsuit boots, and on the way down that would have been perfectly fine. But I have to say now, on the way back, I would be pretty cold, especially that rash top would have been sodden with water, and the wind on that is seriously going to cool me down. So always thinking about what the best thing to do when you're out and about on the water. So I've just found this log floating in the water. Bits of debris and a log. So if you've lost a log, there it is. Still bumpy. Coming from my right, really, the waves. Where are we heading to? Wow, that's a good question. No, we're heading to the corner that's straight in front of me. There's a car, a white van, the top of the van. So roughly where the van is now, that's where we go. That's our get out. So occasionally I'm having to just put a little stroke on the right hand side, just a little brace. I mean, these waves really not going to tip me, but just for my own protection I am just putting that stroke in just to make sure. It's literally just making sure the stroke is on that side just as the wave hits. So it's not a low brace or high brace as such, it's just using the paddle as a support. So one quick little comment about paddling on this type of water for a prolonged period. So I did this paddling with Julie and Patrick. We did about a 4-hour, 5-hour paddle, and it was on this kind of water, so it was bumpy, and boy did I feel ill. Wow. Yeah, so I had classic seasickness, and not for long, maybe about half an hour, maybe an hour tops, but I did get to the point where we did stop, just have a few minutes break on the side just to get our composure again. So it's not just the obvious things you've got to look for, it's things like that. And it's never happened to me again, but in fairness I've never done a trip of that length again, so perhaps I would, but I, as a precaution, if I did it again, I would take seasickness tablets just to try and help. Yeah, this was an ideal spot to get in, I have to say. It's nice and easy. Use the trolley to wheel the kayak down to the car, put it on the roof, and away we go. Good place to find that. So just as we approach the side, noticing that it is a little bit steeper to get out, so you can see that the tide has dropped maybe, I don't know, 5 meters down the beach, because that line further up is where I got in. I certainly didn't get in on some pebbles, so that's the difference in the tide heights. And let's see if we can get on to the land. Oh, crashing onto the pebbles. There we go, all done and finished.